What is a lump sum construction contract? So, have you ever wondered what types of contracts there are or how to mitigate risk in developing contracts? Well, today that's what I'm going to be talking about and explaining what is a lump sum contract. In addition to explaining to you what a lump sum contract is, I'm also going to identify for you some of the potential risks associated with a lump sum, and can you really keep that lump sum cost at that total dollar amount that has been bid or estimated for your project? Today we'll also be talking about, is a lump sum contract really the one for your project? Is it best suited to be able to handle all of the things that are going to be coming at you on your particular construction project? What is a lump sum contract? Well, it's very similar to how it sounds. We're a little simple here in construction, where a lump sum contract is the total dollar amount of what we anticipate it's going to take for us to complete this project. The difference is with a lump sum contract is that this is the final number. We're not expecting any other costs associated with completing this work. Now, we all know that with construction, if there's anything that we know, there's going to be change. So you might ask, how can you have a lump sum contract with a project that you know is going to change? And so this is where some of the controversy comes and some of the risk is associated when bidding a lump sum contract. With a lump sum contract, we have to know that we're working with general contractors who know how to complete the work in order to be able to deliver what has been shown as the scope of work for this contract. Now, there's a difference in the scope of work and the deliverable and what that means to the owner and to the contractor. If the owner says, I want this big, beautiful building, and the contractor sees the drawings, they know the means and methods that they're going to use in order to be able to build this big, beautiful building. But when the owner starts dictating and putting in place specifications and drawings, identifying exactly how the contractor is going to be building the building, then it changes the cost and time associated with how the contractor is going to be able to get that work done. And so that's why when a contractor is bidding a lump sum contract, it's very important for them to be able to have those types of details and clear, concise direction on the deliverable of the project. Now, the reason why the lump sum contract is so risky is because of all of the changes that can happen in a project. But not just the changes. There's unforeseen conditions that are always going to be hitting us in a project. Those unforeseen conditions could be hard ground that we weren't expecting or a higher water table than what we were expecting. And so we didn't include the use of a pump in our bid in order to be able to pull the water out so that we could complete our work. So in that moment, the contractor has to determine, how am I going to continue providing what the owner wants, but doing it for the amount of money that I promised? And so when we're looking at how this negotiation goes back and forth, then we're going to be recognizing that there also needs to be the inclusion of value engineering in the project. So in this value engineering, this is going to allow us to keep the same idea of what we want to achieve, hopefully be able to keep the same quality, but to be able to find ways to do it less expensive, to be able to use some of that money and push it towards the unforeseen condition that occurred in order for us to continue maintaining our forward trajectory in order to be able to complete the delivery that we have promised. So The one thing about a lump sum contract is that we often see it doesn't stay that way. And so this is unfortunate. This is something that the owner or the client is depending on. And so we don't always know what kind of a contingency or available budget that they have in order to be able to grab more money out of the bucket to continue paying for issues that might arise. So how do we know if a lump sum project is for your project? Well, we're going to, again, identify the type of work that's going to be taking place, how much risk is going to be involved. If we're working on an existing building that is going to have modifications and corrections to it, there are going to be a higher likelihood of changes or unforeseen conditions that we are not aware of at the time of bid. And so requiring a lump sum contract is going to increase the risk on that particular project. But if we have a clean slate and we have a vacant lot and we have very clear drawings and specifications, then our risk is lowered, and being able to provide a lump sum for the deliverable of that project is a much better choice. In a lump sum contract, we have to be careful about the scope of work that we're looking at when we're strategizing whether or not this is the right contract for your project. And so when we're looking at it from the owner's perspective, it's very clear that it gives the owner the advantage of being able to know exactly how much their project is going to cost. So being able to have confidence in this lump sum amount allows them to be able to determine other alternatives that they may want to add to the construction project. And it gives them more flexibility of seeing where they can have availability of money that can be spent in other areas. The one advantage for contractors is being able to identify the amount of money that they have to delegate to different resources. So they're going to be able to structure and strategically pre-plan how they're going to be identifying the means and methods of how they're going to produce this deliverable of this project. And this is going to be able to help them determine the lump sum amount for the bid that they're going to be submitting. Sometimes we might question who really is getting the benefit of this lump sum construction contract. It doesn't sound like it benefits a contractor. It sounds as though they're committing to a number, and no matter what happens, they're going to have to hold to that number. Well, it often happens that we have to change the lump sum contract bid, and we do so through other tools of change orders and identifying when something comes up that really no one on the stakeholder team could have anticipated that it was going to happen. And so even though we would like to be able to keep everything as a lump sum contract, really what it's telling us is that this is the lump sum that we propose for this work, and at all costs we're going to do everything we can to try to keep it at this amount so that we all know what the final number of this project is. But you cannot hold somebody responsible for an unknown situation or an issue that might come up that they absolutely have no control over. And so that's why we lean back on the general conditions of our specifications and identify the tools and resources that we're going to negotiate early in the project to determine how we go about adding money to a lump sum contract in order to be able to reduce the risk for everyone involved. When we're working on a construction project, it really is all about fair profit in order to be able to achieve the very best possible delivery for everyone involved. It's important to the owner because they're going to be using this project forever and ever. And it's important to the contractor because it's establishing their reputation as an excellent contractor moving forward for future work. Learning different types of contracts and learning how to manage a lump sum contract is going to be essential in your journey of becoming a construction manager. So if you would like to get our book, Are You Built to Be a Construction Manager?, you'll be able to see all of the different aspects necessary in order for you to be the most successful in your construction industry career.